Hi, it's Nicole. We are in Keswick. We're on holiday in Keswick. Keswick is one of the major towns in the Lake District. The Lake District National Park is in the northwest of England. It's one of my favorite places in the whole wide world. We come here often to do some fell walking, and we'll see how the weather goes. We might go and do some kayaking and wild swimming, and maybe try paddleboarding for the first time as well. It's forecast quite hot in the next couple of days, so we might do that. There are also some literary figures associated with the Lake District. You probably know William Wordsworth. He lived in Dove Cottage near Grasmere with his sister Dorothy. And you probably also have heard of Beatrix Potter. She lived around Windermere, which is also one of the lakes in the Lake District. She did a lot of her writing and illustrating of her children's books here while being a farmer. She was also a farmer in the Lake District. My ideal holiday is always doing some reading and doing some walking in the Lake District, but well, the scenery is so beautiful, it's really hard to stay indoor and read. See you later. It's Saturday lunchtime. We just had some sandwich and some juice at the side of the path. We're halfway up Grisdale Pike. So we started this morning from a village called Braithwaite, which is about a 7-minute bus journey from Keswick, and it didn't take us very long to get quite high up. The path was relatively steep, but it was okay, and you could see quite a good view quite soon. You didn't need to walk very long before you can see quite a good view. And you can see probably behind me, that's Keswick, just there, that bit of houses there, and you can see a little bit of Derwent Water, which is the lake right next to Keswick. And then if you see over my right shoulder, that's the Skiddaw Range, which is the most northerly range in the Lake District. So if you go further than that, there's not much happening beyond that. So the highest one is Skiddaw, which is the 4th highest mountain in England. We're not doing that this time, but we've been there before, and it's quite a good one to go if you are new to fell walking. The path is really good, and it's quite broad and quite mild going up, so that's a good one to go for. So yeah, it's about 1:30 now. I think we'll just keep going and maybe show you some more of the view a bit later. See you. We're on top of Grisdale Pike. I've taken you all the way up here. Hope you enjoy the view. It's really lovely to be able to take you up here. I can't remember if I mentioned this earlier. This is one of the least hot day while we are here, so this is probably the only day we can fell walking. So it's quite hot. It's about 20 degrees, so it's not too bad, but when you go uphill it was quite of a struggle. The last stretch was quite steep, but we got up here now, and it has a quite cool breeze, and now we just have to go all the way down. It's quite fascinating. You can see how far we walked. The little village we started from, it's really looking really tiny now, a small cluster of white houses. It looked really far away, and we walked from about 12:15, and now it's about 3 o'clock, so just over 2.5 hours. Yeah, that's right. So it didn't take very long at all, and we came all the way up here. So yeah, it's surprising how far your 2 feet can take you, or if you are Jane Austen writing to Cassandra, how far your 20 toes can take you. Another thing is, it always struck me every time I come here how friendly everybody is on the fells. All the strangers speak all the strangers say hello, and you say hello to everyone else as well, and then people will have a little chat with you saying how nice the weather is, or it's not far now, keep going, or the view is totally worth it, all that kind of thing. It's just really lovely to come to Lake District, and as soon as you get up the hill, you start to say hello to everybody. It's just a really lovely thing, special characteristics of the Lake District. I guess people here are super friendly. So yeah, as I said, we came all the way up here. Now we just have to go all the way down. I'll see you in a bit. It's about 9:30 in the evening now. We're back in Keswick. It took us about 2 hours to get down from Grisdale Pike back down to the village, and then we took a bus back to Keswick. The walk was in total about 5 hours. It was not as long as some of the walks we did before, but I'm clearly not as fit as a couple of years ago. I blame COVID and lockdown. I haven't been doing much exercise at all. I am quite tired, so we're going to go back to our bread and breakfast and just chill for the rest of the evening. Maybe look through some of this footage and do some editing and do some reading, and then tomorrow, it's Sunday, we're going to have a relatively light day, I'd say. Probably nothing as intense as this, definitely not as intense. So I'll see you tomorrow. It's Sunday night, about 9 o'clock. We didn't do much today. I was completely wiped out by yesterday's walking, so I was just resting most of the day. But first thing in the morning, we went to a church service at Keswick Methodist Church, just around the corner. One of the guest speakers at the Keswick Convention was speaking there. He gave a sermon on one of the chapters in Genesis about Jacob, and that was really nice to meet some new people from all over the country because of Keswick Convention. So that is one of the Christian conferences in the UK. It's quite big. People from up and down the country come to Keswick in the summer for it specifically. So that's what we did in the morning, and at lunchtime we went to the Wild Strawberry. It's a really lovely lunch place, cafe kind of place. If you come to Keswick, I recommend. They do really good crepe. I think their lunch was lovely as well. And in the afternoon, I just went back to our bread and breakfast and slept. We had a nap. We booked paddleboarding tomorrow, so very excited about that. So this evening we just came out of the May evening meeting of Keswick Convention. So it was in a huge tent. It was bigger than last time when we came. I think that's probably all for today. We're going to just probably go home and rest for the rest of the evening. I will see you tomorrow. It's Monday 4 p.m. We just had lunch about 3 o'clock, if you can call lunch at 3 o'clock. This morning we did paddleboarding. It was overall a very good first experience of paddleboarding. The temperature was about 28 degrees and it was quite pleasant on the water. It was just warm enough for me, at least, to not be cold. Before today, my whole concern was, what do I do if I fell in? Would I lose my glasses? I would never see them again in many sense of the word. And if I fell in, would I get cold? In that case, do I need a wetsuit? If I had a wetsuit, does it mean I was going to be too hot when I'm not in the water? It was just a bit complicated. But then today I decided not to wear a wetsuit, and I just got onto the paddleboard and just went. In the end, staying on the board was not a problem at all. I didn't have any balance issue. I didn't fall in at all. The problem was the wind. So on land, it was just a nice little breeze because it's quite warm today. It was nice and cool. But when you go onto the water, the wind actually was quite strong. It made the lake quite choppy, so the paddleboard was like bumping into the water. The problem is I couldn't make the board go where I wanted to go. It keeps spinning. It keeps the wind kept pushing me to one specific direction, so I was going backwards all the time when I want to go forward. It kept pushing me sideways, so I just basically kept spinning around, and it was a workout on my arms. And then after that we walked a little distance, a short distance. I came to a cafe restaurant nearby, just around Keswick. It's very nice as well. It's a lovely place. We tried this for the first time as well. A friend recommended it. There is a octagonal garden, a kitchen garden, so there's a lot of vegetable in there, vegetable and fruit. Apparently Beatrix Potter spent quite a lot of summer here in Lingholm for family holidays. So Peter Rabbit, Benjamin Bunny, a few of those children's stories were written here, were illustrated here. The garden specifically was an inspiration for her. So there's some little display boards explaining the history and the link between Beatrix Potter and the garden. So that was very lovely. So we are now just sitting in the shade, having a bit of a rest before we walk all the way back to Keswick. So I'll see you in a bit. It's Tuesday 9 p.m. We had a really good day today, but first of all let me comment on the weather. The temperature has been record breaking today. It's 31, 32 degrees today in Keswick, and the news has reported that somewhere in the UK the temperature has risen to 40 something degrees, and I think London is really hot as well. So just to give you a context what that means, so usually in the UK, in the north, at least in the north of England where I live, a normal British summer is about 20 degrees, 25 degrees is very hot. If it's 25, we would drive to a nearby river and jump in, that kind of hot. Usually around 20 degrees you would see young people topless in the park sunbathing. So over 30 degrees is very rare. I've been living in the UK for about 15 years now, and this is the first time in my memory that the temperature has risen above 30 degrees. So it's very unusual. And so this morning we went to the Keswick Convention meetings in the morning in this heat. Just imagine about over 1,000 people squashed into a tent, everybody sitting next to each other. I was practically melting. Keswick Convention has 3 weeks, and each week has its different variety of speakers for different time slots over the time of day and over the week. So for this week we have, among many other brilliant speakers, we have Glyn Harrison and Alistair Begg, and this morning's session both were excellent. Both speakers were excellent speakers, and even though we were all melting in the heat, it was well worth it. So after the morning meetings we went to the convention bookstore. One thing I like most about this kind of big Christian conventions is the bookstore. They're usually set up by a company called 10 of Those. They are a Christian publisher as well as a bookshop. They supply books to churches and conferences around the country. I don't know about outside UK. It's just really lovely to be able to walk into a physical bookstore and with lots of books piled up on the wall, on the tables, and just browse and flick through them, and yeah, go home with a big pile. That's just one of my highlights, always one of my highlights, going to big Christian conventions. So after that we had some lunch. We went to a burger restaurant recommended by our bread and breakfast host. One thing that's quite special is they offered kimchi coleslaw, which was the first time I tried coleslaw that had kimchi in it. And then the heat was just getting quite unbearable. We went to the lake and we jumped in. It was a lot easier than going paddleboarding. It was free, first of all, and there was no complicated gear to wear, and we just went in. There were a lot of people there. It was actually quite fun. So we cooled down in the lake, and now the temperature has cooled down a lot. It's quite a pleasant evening, and we are sitting in the park nearby a river, and we are practically got eaten by the midges every second. So I think I will stop here and see you tomorrow. It's Wednesday, 11 p.m. On Saturday, if you remember, I said we would not go to Skido this time because we've been before, but this afternoon we had some free time, so we went to Skido as well as Latrick. Both Skido and Latrick overlook Keswick and the valleys around, and the view was magnificent. That's, I guess, one of the reasons I love fell walking. If you think of it, when I go uphill, it's always a struggle, and when I go downhill, my knees hurt and it's always really painful. And while I walk, I always think, why do I put myself through this? But a few days later, a few weeks or months later, I always think I want to go back and look at the view again and go walking again. Yes, I guess one of the reasons I love fell walking is the view. It's just really beautiful. After we came back, we went to a bookshop called Bookends. That name might ring a bell if you watched one of my vlogs a couple of months ago when we went to Carlisle. There was also a bookshop called Bookends. They were owned by the same people. So if you come to Keswick, I really recommend this little bookshop. It's really cozy, really cute, really compact. There's a lot of books in there. There's a lot of Lake District souvenirs as well. It's Thursday morning. I'm going to wrap this video up. I fully intended to talk about all the readings I've done during the holiday, during this month, but in the end I decided not to. I feel like it's a bit forced to talk about books or reading while there are so many other things we've been doing and so many other things I want to show you. So I hope that's okay and you are not disappointed. I hope you've enjoyed going on holiday with us in Keswick in the Lake District. I will see you in my next video.